Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate your giving this bill a hearing. And thank you, Senator Dozier, for your question. We should probably make sure that there's clarity on how this applies, but the intent of that section was just to make sure that there's no scam transfers of ownership and that thing just to get a new tax break, which you know that I'm not generally supportive of, so it must have surprised y'all that I would actually propose something like this. But when it was, I can't remember when it was years back though. I remember hearing at either an AWB conference or chamber or something like that, that Washington State was one of the best states to start a business in. We had the most startups, but at the same time, we also had some of the most small business, new business startup failures. And when I talk to small business owners, one of the things that always comes up as their top issue is money, access to credit, access to capital, and the money ran out is generally the statement that comes up. So while the U.S. News and World Report just had an article that says that Washington State takes the top spot in as best state rankings as tech fuels the economic engine. We're the first state to top the list 2 years in a row, and the state has emerged as a national leader in business incubation, and that's U.S. News and World Report. So when they interviewed why the businesses failed, it was always the money ran out. But you know, I've been a real proponent of taking a look at our entire tax code. We got this tax structure work group, whatever it's called, that's looking at the entire tax code that's been meeting. It's a bipartisan group established by statute. It's been working for a couple of years now. And they're looking at adjustments to the tax code, our revenue structure, to make it less regressive. But in my opinion, and when I say comprehensive tax reform, B&O tax is as regressive to small businesses as sales tax is to individuals. You have to pay that tax, as staff reported in their bill briefing, that you have to pay B&O whether or not you're making any profit. And that is a key point of failure, I believe, in our tax structure, is that we're not supporting small businesses to get them up and running. And when they say that the money ran out, or they just didn't have enough resources to just keep doing their business, there are other countries in the world that do this, and that's where I first got the thought of it, because in talking with some people who came over from the EU, they don't charge any business taxes for the first 2 years of a business's startup. And that's the foundation for this bill. So that means that a small business, if they can manage to make money, they can keep a hold of it and reinvest it back into their business to help it grow further. And that's the whole point of this, is to just try and learn some lessons that we see taken from around the world on how we can support small business startups. Small businesses are clearly an entree point for immigrants and immigrant communities within within the United States, because it's something that you don't have to get hired on to do. You just go out there and do it yourself, and it's their way of reaching for the American dream. So we want to, my goal is to just try and lower this as a financial barrier to startups, and it makes it cost neutral. The fiscal note is small, the estimate on it is small, because it socializes the cost of the loss in revenue from giving this 2-year exemption to new startups and just spreading it all across all the other B&O categories, which has got to be a very minuscule amount, because there aren't that many. Well, there's a lot of startups in our state, but so it should have no fiscal cost impact to our general fund. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'd appreciate any questions from y'all, and just understand this is a bill to get a conversation going on it. If you want to take it and run with it, have at it. Yeah, my blessing. But I wanted to have these conversations about tax reform and the regressivity of B&O and how it needs to be part of an overall tax reform process. Thank you, Mr. Chair.